Hello. Today I wanted to share a little story. Normally I showcase things like combatives and self-defense and self-protection. And in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about my mum. Now, my mum is relatively elderly now, and she had several strokes and heart attacks, and she's in a wheelchair. She struggles to walk. And approximately 18 months ago, a gang of 4 lads in the middle of the night decided to attack my mum's house, trying to smash in her doors, trying to smash in the windows. Over a period of about 20 minutes they lay siege to my mum's house because mistakenly they thought it was a house which was holding drugs. They'd actually got the house numbers wrong by about 10-15 numbers, but they attacked my mum's house and her partner in the middle of the night for a sustained period of about 20 minutes. And this was terrifying. They smashed in all of the front windows, they smashed in the front door, they were shouting death threats. My mum and her partner, they were upstairs and they were trying to explain to people, you've got the wrong house, please go. But there's a number of learnings from that incident which I think is mindful to pay attention to. So, first learning from my mother's attack, and thankfully they didn't get her. And if they did, I'd have hunted them down, skinned them, and you'd see them on the wall behind me. Fucking cunts. Anyway, things you can learn from my mother's attack. 1. No one is coming to help you. No one. So, soon as the attack started, soon as they started smashing windows, kicking in the doors, shouting death threats out the window, and this is, perhaps 11 p.m. at night, so not ridiculously early in the morning or ridiculously late at night, 11 p.m. So as soon as this happens, they obviously phone the police. And the police take 26 minutes to arrive. 26 minutes. And my mum lives in an area that's relatively suburban. It's not in the middle of nowhere. You don't need a helicopter to find it. It's thousands and thousands of people live there. 26 minutes to arrive. So no one's coming to help you. But call the police anyway. Call the police straight away, no matter what you do. But mentally prepare yourself for the fact that assistance will not come. One of the few things that kept my mum safe was, she lives in a council house, and they actually put in a relatively decent composite front door. And the quality of that door was the one thing stopping those absolute cunt bags breaking in. They'd smashed in the front windows, but the glass was too jagged for them to try and make an entry. It was too difficult. You can't rely on that. But the thing that stopped them going at the front door was the fact that it was composite. They punched it, they kicked it, they smashed it with rocks, they smashed it with hammers, went at it with screwdrivers. These lads are all tooled up. They're all tooled up because they think that someone's taken their drug money or some stupid shit like that. But no matter what, that composite door held firm. So if you've got a mother, or if you yourself are looking after your own safety, buy a good composite door. For the love of God, it may keep you safe, as it did my mum. So no one's coming to help you. Prepare yourself for that. But call the police in the first instance, and anyone else you know. 2, invest in a quality front door. A quality front door is very important. 3 is a learning which my mother fell foul of. So when they wanted to smash in the windows and try and smash in the door, they actually picked up, often what slightly older people have, like granite kind of garden ornaments. She had like little meerkats and rabbits and fountains and stuff like that. Normal people garden stuff. But it was those very ornaments that were used to smash in bits of window, bits of door, hurling it at the house, causing grievous damage to everything. But it's those very things. So whilst they might look pretty and they might be to someone's taste, really do remove those hardened objects because they're a very easy weapon of opportunity for people that mean you harm. Another thing, neighbours will hear you and mostly do nothing. So my mum lives in a semi-detached house on a very, very long road with many, many other houses. And after the event, it was very clear that several houses all heard the commotion. This is a 20-odd minute siege of a house, okay? They're absolutely off their tits on drugs. They're smashing in windows, they're kicking at doors, they're shouting death threats at the top of their voice, they're screeching their car back and forward up and down the road. Every fucker on that road would have heard, and not a single fucker on that road did anything about it. So don't rely on the fact that even the neighbours you get on with will help you, because they will not. So again, by all means, shout, call them, try and do stuff, but be mentally fortified to the fact that they just may not come at all. That's a very sad thing, but it's a very human thing. They're not going to come. Have a plan. So my mum, she's wheelchair bound, her partner is an older gentleman. There's no way they're stopping 4 angry, coked up dickheads once they breach that door. But what they did do is they went upstairs and in their own way they barricaded as well as they could the bedroom, the choke point. So bookcases, bits of bed, bits of furniture, whatever they had in their power to put by that door, they did. They barricaded that door. And they communicated to the gang attacking the house through the top window. It's also worth pointing out that communication can often not save you too. It would have been immediately obvious to people that are not off their tits on drugs that the elderly woman in the window and her partner is not a drug kingpin. It's just not. You would know these things. However, people aren't amenable to communication when they're off their tits on drugs or so full of spite and anger and vengeance and wrath that they just cannot think clearly. So they barricaded the doors, absolutely correct thing to do. They armed up, so even in my mom's kind of disabled state, they took the knives upstairs with them, which is brilliant. Yeah. And she probably would have stabbed a couple of the cunts too. She armed up, she went upstairs, barricaded the doors. Very important thing to do. Because if that composite hadn't held, or if the window hadn't broken in such a jaggedy way, they would have been absolutely fucked. So, absolutely smart game plan. They fortified their position because escape was impossible. Completely impossible. It takes quite some time for my mum to get up the stairs, let alone into the back garden, over a fence, somewhere else. So, staying in fortifying was the only available option. Little did they know it would take the police 26 minutes to arrive. Okay. They couldn't rely on negotiation. They tried, they pleaded, they explained. It was very, very obvious, but they weren't taking any of it. Also let you know that violence can be entirely random. There's a big thing for people that you deserve violence or you must have done something for the violence. But in this, instead of numbers X, Y, Z, they're actually after numbers A, B, C. Just so happened that the house numbers were flipped, they're inverted. So, completely random attack. At any one time, any of you can be attacked for any number of reasons. There need not be any rationale whatsoever. It's not like, oh, you must have had your car stolen because it's a nice car and you left it out, or you must have done this, or you must have opened the windows and have seen your TV. Bollocks. You must do all these things to keep yourself safe and make sure you don't offer opportunity to people. But violence can just happen to you because violence is also random. And you must accept that it can happen to you despite every safeguard that you do. You must mentally prepare yourself for a poor investigation. So, it took 26 minutes for the police to arrive. The gang attacking the house with death threats that are armed skedaddle approximately 3-4 minutes just before the police get there, as probably some of the more sober members of that troop realise that eventually causing that much ruckus is going to bring someone to you, albeit 26 fucking minutes late. Anyway, so do prepare yourself because the window's smashed in. The door is only just hanging on to its life here because this has been a prolonged besiegement of the house. And 2 police officers come and they speak to my elderly mother and they speak to her elderly partner, and they don't once think, they say, okay, someone will come in the morning and they'll board up the windows and they'll barricade and they'll debrief you. Nicey, mate. And they fuck off. They take a statement and they fuck off. And the guys come back. They come back. They're racing up and down the road. They're too spooked now to come out the house, but the guys come back. So don't rely on the aftercare. The investigation will likely be poor. And many people won't have the wherewithal to say, this elderly woman is now in a house that was just attacked by a violent gang that was armed. They no longer have front windows and the doors smashed. So see you in the morning. Bye. That happens. That happened to my mum. Absolutely fucking disgraceful, but it happens. So again, don't rely on it. And in honesty, you know, I think it's shameful that people wouldn't have the logic to think that through. Especially older people, they tend to be like, oh, we'll be fine, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. But then obviously not going to be fine. Window smashed in, door smashed in, angry gang, and obviously they come back, but luckily they don't come in again. But again, you know, that lets you know that the investigation will likely be poor. They attack the house with such vigour that they leave blood all over the window and all over the door because they're smashing to try and get in to this building. So it's got their blood on it. So my mum and her partner, they get the last 3 digits of the number plate, the colour of the car. They refer to each other by name. Still no real investigation. No real investigation whatsoever. So you got number plate, car colour, names, blood, nothing. Okay? Nothing. And you also got to factor in the psychological trauma that for months and now years, there's the fear that this would happen again. Deep down, rationality would tell you that's a freak accident and that won't happen again because, you know, hopefully those guys have got themselves killed or locked up in some shithole somewhere. But, you know, it's ensured that she goes to bed with weapons and that she's super afraid at night. And if cars go by, if an exhaust goes bang in the night, there's fear, there's dread, there's shame as well. People feel ashamed when they feel under siege in their own house. There's fear, dread, shame, all of these things, and it's very frightening. And especially when these things are so rarely pursued, you know, I would really advise you take the time, if anything like this does happen, to talk to that affected person, understand, be considerate, do everything you can. But what my mum did very well is she reinvested in the surety of the home. So the composite door held. So new composite door goes on, solid, decent, reliable composite door. Different types of windows are chosen to make smaller opportunities to gain entry. Those ornaments that are in the front garden, no longer there. And that experience of poor prevention, so not, you know, neighbours not coming, police not coming, and poor follow-up is so burnt now that there is a sense of self-reliance in safeguarding that home. But if there are things to learn, quality door. Don't rely on anyone, but call as many people as you can anyway. The neighbours aren't coming, it's very unlikely, but call them anyway. Negotiation can help, but it might not, but negotiate anyway. Remove objects that can help gain entry into that home, such as garden ornaments. Absolutely, just get them out of the frame. Just get them completely out of the frame. Have a plan. Arm up and barricade. And make sure you're ready psychologically, legally, and environmentally for the aftermath, which can be often worse than the event itself. So, you know, it's a bit of a shit story. I'm still absolutely livid about them. If any of you, if I was to ever see them again, I would rip them inside out. But that righteous anger you can do nothing with, because I'll never ever come across those people. But what I can do is share my mum's story with you, and hopefully you can learn some of the things that she did right, and you can learn from some of the things she did wrong, and hopefully you can keep yourself safer and keep your loved ones safer. So with that, thank you, Mama, for the lessons, and I'm very pleased to share them with you.